This video is going to show you how to find sources for your Management 490 marketing plan rubric, specifically the situation analysis and the SWOT analysis. I'm Dawn Emsalem. I'm the Director of Library Services and your business librarian. If you have questions after this, you can find my email by Googling Dawn Salvi Library. So today what we're going to talk about is a research strategy for to fulfill the rubric items for your term project. We're going to talk about what tools and sources are most likely to have the information you need for your term project. And after that, you're going to complete an activity where you practice using these sources so you can get some muscle memory and how they work. So the first thing is to identify your task. So what is your BP rubric asking for? Some of this information is you're going to be collecting with primary research, and some of it is secondary research. So we're going to be talking today about the secondary research, which is mostly the analysis of the external environment and the SWOT analysis. The external environment, stuff like competition, economic growth, political trends, legal, regulatory issues, sort of like the environment that your industry is operating in. And then the SWOT analysis gives you practice using this information to create a SWOT analysis. To craft a research strategy, you also have to think about the language that is used to describe your industry, and the experts may use language that's different than the words that you just sort of come up with when you're thinking about it. So that's one thing we're going to be keeping an eye out for when we look in our library tools. We're going to be thinking about like what words are coming back when we do our search. And then we're going to think about what questions we need to ask. So questions like that are like, what's the economic outlook for our industry? Is the economy that our consumers are operating in, is it growing? Is it stable? Is it weakening? What kind of political and technological trends is the industry experiencing? And we have to look at the cultural environment. What demographic trends may affect our marketing strategy? And then when we think about these questions, we have to sort of envision the type of source that would provide it to us, and the type of source that will provide a fair amount of this information is proprietary from business analysts, meaning that highly paid people analyze data that they either collect or have access to, and then they analyze it for you and write up reports that you can use to apply to your industry and to answer your questions. This information is difficult to find. High quality information like this is difficult to find on Google, and that's why we're going to be talking about using library databases that we pay for so that you can have access to this type of information. Some of the information is available on Google. So, if you're looking at the legal and regulatory issues, industry advocacy groups often provide this information because they're lobbying Congress to get laws or the regulatory environment passed so that the regulatory environment changes. And then you may be looking for research reports, which our library tools have in easy access. And then you might be looking at government websites to get government data. So, and then the tools that we're going to use, library tools will include Hoovers and Statista. Google will be looking for websites on industry advocacy groups. We're going to do a little search in Harvard think tanks. Think tanks are organizations that employ experts, and all they do is make policy recommendations and write reports and collect data. And so Harvard has a special custom Google search that only searches the websites of think tanks. We're going to take a look at that. And a government agency like the Bureau of Economic Analysis may also have data that would be helpful for this project. So with that, let's hop into our library website. The first thing I want to point out is that I have created an online research guide, which is in Canvas if you click on library resources. And the links to all of the tools that we're talking about are in there today, so you can get there easily. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you also how to access the tools through the Salve Library webpage. And to do that, we just Google Salve Library. And here we are in the Caleb Library. We're going to go to databases A to Z, and we are going to, let's start with Hoovers. We'll start off with the tool Hoovers. So we go to H, and we scroll down to Hoovers. And well, one way to use Hoovers is there's two options within Hoovers. You can search a industry or you can search a company. And Hoovers is taking a long time to load, which sometimes happens. So while we're waiting for Hoovers to load, we can also, there we go, we can search for a company. So let's just say our company that we are looking at may be a restaurant. So we'll think of another company that is likely to be in Hoovers. So these are big publicly traded companies. If we find one of those, we're both identifying a potential competitor and we're also identifying an industry. So let's just say that if we're looking at a restaurant, we want to have a restaurant, we're looking at the Cheesecake Factory. So here we see this one's 461 million and this one's 2 million. So this is the one we want to look at. This is the big boss restaurant for Cheesecake Factory headquarters. And this information gives a bunch of, is all like data about Cheesecake Factory, but down here we see that Hoovers has categorized Cheesecake Factory in an area called restaurants and bars. If we click on this, now we're in the Hoovers industry information. So Hoovers is giving a bunch of data, which you can look at on the side here. And you can see the different industry activities is where they drill down and sort of show different varieties of restaurants and bars. And then we have market research reports. So these are kind of your gold. And right here we can see there's one for the U.S. Restaurants and Food Service United States from June 22. So this is a really good one. We can click on this or we can click on PDF. And what we find is that this report has a ton of stuff that will help your SWOT analysis. So economic indicators, regulation, it's almost like everything you need right here if you find one that matches your industry. So again, the way we got here, this is a search strategy, is we started by identifying a potential competitor, such as Cheesecake Factory. And then we saw the industry that the analysts at Hoovers placed Cheesecake Factory in, industry, on this first page. And we clicked on it. And then within this industry summary, we saw that there were market research reports. And this one was a super up-to-date one for the US. So we could, that's like you hit gold right there. You might also find other information in here. So like, for example, if you were looking at like clothing retail or clothing companies, you might, or sportswear companies, you might say, oh, I think Adidas is a good example of a really big sort of competitor. And the benefit of going with a big competitor like this, first of all, you see the clothing and apparel manufacturing in the industry, but on the side here, the analysts at Hoovers have also already done a SWOT analysis. So you can take a look at how they did it. And you can see the SWOT items here, but then you can see how the kind of information they included. So this is a good way to sort of see how an expert creates a SWOT analysis and what information they put in here. So it's not always there, but sometimes if you think of a few different competitors, you can find a SWOT analysis. And again, this one, clothing and apparel manufacturing. So these are words that our experts are using to describe this company, which may also apply to your company. This is a good way to find the words that you're going to use to describe your industry. The next tool we want to use is, we're going back to the library homepage, databases A to Z, and let's try Statista. Now, Statista is really great. If we scroll down to S for Statista, Statista is really also great about industry information and also giving demographic stuff. So right here, let's just say we have a dentist's office. So let's take a look for dentists. And so right away, what Statista is showing us is we have these 3 bars. These are statistics. And so there's a lot of information about dentists. There's also topics. So topics and dossiers are things you want to look for. These are compilations of data. In this case, our topics aren't that great because it's just they're about countries that we're not studying. But if we click on dossiers, we can see that there is a dossier about oral health and dental care in the U.S. And here we can see the table of contents shows that this is a compilation of data of different demographics for possible that could really help your marketing information if you kind of break it out. So you can see the market right here. If you click on download this PowerPoint, you can grab any of these statistics that you want. It's currently downloading. And then it will just open in PowerPoint and you can grab whatever you need from there and cite it. So right here you can see our table of contents and you can scroll through, and when you want some data, you just grab it right here and you can see that there's some source data here, so you can do a citation on this. So it'll show you where Statista got it, and you can use that. So the next tool that we're going to look at is we're going to just Google. So let's think about industry advocacy organizations. So if we're still thinking about dentists, we can just say dentist industry advocacy organization and see what comes up. Sometimes this is really just very effective. So in our case right here, we get right away the Dental Trade Alliance, which seems like it might be an industry advocacy organization. And what you look for is something called advocacy. And right away, we can see that this advocacy organization is looking at the legislative and regulatory issues facing dentists. So if we click on that, it's going to talk about supply chain legislation. So you can learn more about why this is important to dentists. And this could also go into your report. Let's go back again, because there was another possible trade organization, the American Dental Association. Again, we have an advocacy group, and it's telling you right away what issues they're interested in that affect dentists. So these are ways to look at what issues this industry is working with. Again, just Google, very easy. The next tool that we might want to look at is Harvard Think Tank. So basically, I just Google Harvard Think Tank search, and it takes me right there. And if you wanted to do a search, what this is going to do is it's going to find reports from think tanks. So if you have some issue that you're still, not finding, you have a missing rubric item, you can try the Harvard Think Tank search. And what you're seeing right here is reports from different think tanks, and they're all on different issues. So something that's affecting the footwear industry is supply chain. They're talking about regulation, the effects on workers. They're talking about sustainability. So right off the bat, you can see some of the issues that are affecting your industry, if footwear is your industry. And so that's think tanks. If you click on any of these, you can see that a broader topic, the garment industry is the footwear industry is part of the garment industry. And so you can see that there's issues with workers mobilizing to get rights if they're working in poor environments. So these are the kind of things you're going to find in Harvard Think Tank search. And the last one that I would like you to search is, this is your LibGuide that is under Library Resources. Right here, we link to the Bureau of Economics Analysis. You could also Google this. And this section right here, the U.S. economy at a glance, may be useful to you. If you keep scrolling down past the international, you'll see that you can see this is about the overall economic situation. So if you're thinking about, you know, the economic situation in a particular state where you're going to be marketing in, you can see by clicking on this what's going on first quarter 2022 in Rhode Island, that we have percent changes, negative growth in Rhode Island and Mass. And so this can be something that can help your rubric as well. So there's different information in the Bureau of Economic Analysis. This includes personal income, so you can see sort of information on that. And it even gets down into county and metropolitan area if you are looking at that. So the Bureau of Economic Analysis is the last tool that I'd like you to take a look at. And then next, you're going to be doing an online activity, and that is also on your research guide right here, or your professor may give you a link to this activity.